Welcome to the last lecture on the different systems. The last system we will cover is the gustatory system, which allows us to perceive taste. Gustation is the sense of taste, and the gustatory system processes information about taste and flavor that is transmitted from receptors that are mainly found on the tongue. There are 5 distinct categories of taste according to the nervous system, and these are sweet, salty, sour, bitter, and umami. Umami is a category that was added recently relative to the other 4, and it refers to the savory taste that is found in animal meats. Now these tastes are captured by the taste buds that are found within bumps on the tongue that are called papillae. There are 4 different types of papilla, and they are spread out across the different parts of the tongue. At the front of the tongue, there are filiform papilla. This is the only type of papilla that does not contain taste buds. On the middle surface of the tongue, there are fungiform papilla. On the sides of the tongue, there are foliate papilla, and at the back of the tongue, there are circumvallate papilla. Now within the papilla, as we can see in the diagram on the bottom right corner, there are around 50 to 60 taste cells that are arranged in this bud shape as seen. The taste cells have taste hairs or microvilli that project into the taste pore, which is exposed to the substance that is in the mouth. Actually, it was previously believed that different taste buds could only detect one type of taste. For example, it was thought that only taste buds at the tip of the tongue could detect sweetness. However, we now know that this is not true, and any taste cell can respond to any of the taste categories. So how do the molecules found in food actually trigger the perception of taste? This is similar to the olfactory system in that there are molecules that can bind to receptors and lead to action potentials in the receptor cells. Here, the different categories of taste can activate the receptor cells in different ways. Since salty foods contain NaCl, the sodium ions can enter the taste receptors, and this influx of positive charge leads to depolarization of the taste cells. The same happens with sour foods that are rich in hydrogen ions. They also enter the cells and cause depolarization, and the more concentrated the hydrogen ions are in a certain food, then the higher the perceived sourness of the food. So we can detect a difference between vinegar versus some sour vegetables, for example. Now for sweet and bitter foods, it works a little differently. For the sweet taste, glucose binds to receptors on the taste cell and leads to a response in the cell. For bitter taste, it is not that straightforward because when a molecule binds to receptors, they can either trigger depolarization or hyperpolarization, and this will just depend on the molecule itself. Now, the perception of bitter taste is really important for survival because toxic chemicals are typically bitter, and if the perceived bitterness is extreme, then a gag reflex can be triggered in order to reject this type of chemical and preventing it from entering the body. Now the last one, which is umami, is, as I mentioned, the savory taste that is present in protein-rich foods such as steak. And this taste is due to the presence of the amino acid L-glutamate. So this amino acid can bind to the receptor on the taste cell and activates the response. So gustatory information from the taste cells can travel through different nerves like the facial nerve or the glossopharyngeal nerve, and will synapse first in the brainstem in the medulla. Then the information will go to the thalamus as usual, before then being transmitted to the gustatory cortex, which is found in the insula. The insula is a cortical area that's found underneath the frontal lobe, as seen in the diagram on the left, where the frontal lobe is lifted up to show the insular cortex underneath. In the image on the right, we can see where the insula is if we look at a cross-section through the brain. So the insula is a structure for which new functions keep being discovered. We know that it is the center for taste processing, but it can also integrate information about different aspects of the body state, such as digestion or blood pressure. It also appears to play a role in emotional processing, particularly in fear and anxiety, and it can also process particular sensations like pain and itching.